Imagine for a moment what would happen if all humans suddenly went blind. Picture the world shrouded in darkness, the vibrant colors and intricate details we once knew, reduced to nothing more than a distant memory. In an instant, confusion would take hold as people grapple with this newfound state of existence. The bustling streets would become eerily quiet, punctuated only by the sounds of uncertainty. Everyday tasks would turn into monumental challenges, and our reliance on vision, something we've taken for granted, would become painfully evident. What could cause such an event? Perhaps a rampant, unseen global disease, a new kind of blindness virus, or maybe a cosmic event, like a solar flare or gamma-ray burst, could rob us of our sight without warning. This is a terrifying thought, isn't it? But let's delve deeper into this hypothetical situation. Let's explore the immediate and long-term consequences and how, as a species, we would navigate this new world plunged into darkness. So, the unthinkable has happened. Everyone is blind. What happens next? In the immediate aftermath, a wave of panic and confusion would sweep through humanity. Think about it, all of us, abruptly plunged into darkness. No preparation, no warning. The world as we know it would come to a screeching halt. Accidents would be inevitable. Cars would crash, planes would fall from the sky, and ships would run aground. People would stumble and fall, unable to navigate their own homes, let alone the outside world. Hospitals already struggling to cope would be overwhelmed with the injured. But it's not just physical injuries we'd have to worry about. The psychological toll would be immense. The sudden loss of sight is a traumatic experience. Many would struggle to accept their new reality, leading to widespread emotional distress and mental health issues. And then, there's the issue of communication. Without sight, our primary means of interacting with the world and each other is gone. Sure, we have other senses, but they're not as developed or as relied upon as our sight. Voice calls would become our lifeline, but even then, how do you find your phone, let alone dial a number? Critical infrastructure and services would also be severely impacted. Power plants, water treatment facilities, transportation networks, all require sight to operate and maintain. Without it, they would quickly fall into disrepair, plunging us further into chaos. And let's not forget about food. Supermarkets would become a thing of the past. We'd struggle to grow our own food without sight, leading to widespread shortages and inevitably starvation. It's a grim picture indeed. But what about the long term? As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, how does humanity adapt? The world as we know it would be fundamentally transformed in the long run. Our societies would need to reshape and evolve to support a world without sight. This means a complete overhaul of our existing structures and systems, a revolution of sorts to accommodate this new reality. Imagine cities redesigned with tactile paving and sound cues to help people navigate. Public transportation systems would be reconfigured to rely on voice commands and auditory signals. Infrastructure would need to be completely redesigned, from our homes to our workplaces, to make them more accessible and safe. But it's not just about physical changes. The way we communicate would also need to evolve. Braille, a writing system used by the blind that relies on touch, could become a universal language. Voice technology might also take a giant leap forward, becoming the primary mode of communication for everyone. And what about our other senses? In the absence of sight, our reliance on hearing, touch, smell, and taste would significantly increase. It's possible that these senses could become more acute over time, as we adapt to use them more intensively. We might develop new skills and techniques to make the most of these heightened senses, completely changing the way we perceive the world around us. The development of new technologies would also play a crucial role in helping us adapt. Think about the potential advancements in assistive technologies, from tactile devices that can translate visual information into touch sensations, to sophisticated audio systems that can provide detailed auditory cues about our environment. Education would also need to undergo a radical transformation. Teaching methods would need to shift from visual aids to auditory and tactile learning tools. From early childhood, individuals would need to be taught new ways of understanding and interacting with the world. This new world would be vastly different from the one we know, and yet, life would find a way to continue, wouldn't it? As history has shown us, humans have an incredible capacity for adaptation. Even in a world without sight, we'd find new ways to survive, thrive, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. In a world without sight, how do our social structures change? This is a question that leads us down an intriguing path of speculation and analysis. Imagine, if you will, the power dynamics within our societies. Power, in a sighted world, often comes with the ability to control resources, including information. With sight being a primary source of information, its loss would undoubtedly shift the balance of power. Those who have relied on visual cues to assert dominance may find themselves at a disadvantage, while those who have honed their other senses may rise in prominence. The societal norms we've grown accustomed to would also face a seismic shift. The importance of physical appearance, for instance, would diminish significantly. No longer would we judge or be judged on our looks, the color of our skin, or the clothes we wear. Instead, our character, our words, and our actions would take center stage. This could potentially lead to a society more focused on empathy, understanding, and mutual respect, as we learn to navigate the world without our sight. Cultural practices, too, would evolve in fascinating ways. Art, for example, would likely shift from the visual to the tactile, auditory, and olfactory. Think of sculptures that are meant to be touched and felt, music and spoken word performances gaining even greater importance, and the role of scent in our daily lives becoming more prominent. Of course, it's not all rosy. Challenges would abound, communication would become more difficult, requiring us to develop new methods and systems. Infrastructure would need to be redesigned to accommodate a sightless population, and there would be a steep learning curve as we all adapt to this new way of life. However, this hypothetical scenario also presents the potential for increased equality. With physical appearance becoming irrelevant, we might see a lessening of discrimination and prejudice. It could foster a deeper sense of community, as we all grapple with the same challenges and learn to rely on each other more. It's fascinating to ponder how our societies might evolve in such a scenario. And while it's a scenario we hope never comes to pass, it's a powerful exercise in empathy and understanding. It forces us to question our reliance on sight, and to appreciate the other senses that make our human experience so rich and varied. Amidst all this, what becomes of the human spirit? In the face of such adversity, it's tempting to imagine a world plunged into chaos. But let's take a moment to consider the resilience that pulses through the core of our humanity. In the past, we've faced numerous challenges, both personal and collective. Each time we've learned, adapted, and emerged stronger. So even if the world goes blind, it's reasonable to believe that our resilience would stir, stronger than ever. Our capacity for innovation, too, would likely skyrocket. Humans have a knack for creating solutions to problems, often in ways that seem impossible at first. The loss of sight would undoubtedly present a colossal challenge, but it's also a problem that would inspire a wave of creativity and innovation. We might find ourselves developing new technologies, refining existing ones, or even rediscovering forgotten ways of navigating the world without sight. But perhaps the most significant change would be in our relationships with each other. Faced with a shared struggle, we would likely see an increase in cooperation and mutual support. Our reliance on each other would grow, fostering a sense of community that may have been lacking in our visually driven world. This commonality could bridge gaps, blur lines of division, and bring us closer together. Moreover, the loss of sight might lead us to a heightened appreciation of life's other senses and experiences. We'd become more attuned to the rustle of leaves, the scent of rain, the texture of fabric, and the taste of food. We'd find joy in the warmth of a hug, the cadence of a voice, the rhythm of a heartbeat. Our world would be different, yes, but it would still be rich and full and beautiful. So, while the hypothetical scenario of a world without sight may seem daunting, it also carries a promise of potential growth and transformation. It reminds us that the human spirit is not defined by the challenges it faces, but by how it responds to them. Even in darkness, the human spirit shines bright. So, what have we learned from this thought experiment? We've explored the immediate and long-term consequences of an unimaginable scenario where all humans suddenly go blind. We've delved into the challenges that would arise, from the simplest daily tasks to the larger complexities of maintaining a functioning society. We've also examined the societal impacts, the potential for a dramatic shift in our reliance on technology, the reinvention of communication, and the reevaluation of our values and priorities. But amidst the darkness, we've found a beacon of hope, the human spirit. It's our resilience, our adaptability, and our incredible capacity for innovation that would guide us through. In the face of such adversity, we'd find ways to navigate, to connect, to survive, and ultimately to thrive. It's a daunting scenario, but one that underscores the adaptability and resilience of humanity. Thank you for joining us on this thought-provoking journey. Until next time, keep imagining, keep wondering,